For the past 2 years, Jocko Fuel has been the only supplement I've consumed. It's helped me stay in shape now that my competitive career is finished. If you've been waiting to try Jocko, the wait is over. Jocko has now teamed with Walmart, bringing clean fuel to the entire nation. Jocko Fuel is loaded with all the good stuff and none of the bad. And I'm talking no added sugars, no artificial sweeteners, and absolutely no gray area or banned substances. Just pure, clean fuel to power your performances. Jocko Fuel is now available in Walmart nationwide. Products available at your local Walmart are Jocko Malt, ready to drink, Jocko Malt powder, and Jocko pre-workout. How convenient. Guys, the time is now. Consider trying some of my favorites like Jocko Go and Jocko Hydrate. You can even do it online. Use code CHAEL30 at JockoFuel.com or just stop by your local Walmart and get your hands on some Jocko ASAP. Don't wait, might not last. Fuel up with Jocko Fuel and crush your goals. Now there's no excuse for not having clean fuel. Guys, I want you to go get Jocko Fuel today at Walmart. This is a tough one to explain. I mean, this is the kind of fight that this entire sport is about. This is the kind of fight that when Dana White got into this and said we're not going to do things like boxing, this is what he meant. You have two guys that know the outcome, or at least the likely outcome of this contest. Now, when you have those situations, those guys don't ever fight each other. Puts them both in a weird spot. The guy that is the A side is not going to come out and speak to the world about his teammate and tell the world what he did and break one of the most coveted bonds, which is what happened in the practice room stays in the practice room. He's just not going to do that. Then you've got the other side, which is not going to come out and say, I can whip everybody in the world and I'm the greatest, when you're standing right next to a guy who used to beat you just in the practice room. Like, I'm trying to put myself in Ian Garry's shoes. Ian Garry is younger, and Ian Garry is very successful. And just how good is he? But like, before you answer that, it does largely come to matchups. As impressive as Garry has been, for example, he has never taken on a top grappler. As impressive as he's been, he's never taken on a top wrestler. Your matchups just, right, they play out the way that they play out. But I could not be in front of a camera and not tell the camera that I was the best. I could beat anybody they got in a contract. Well, if they would have brought that camera that I was saying that to, if they would have brought that into Team Quest and Randy was there, that would have been very weird for me. Like, I would have understood the importance of promotion. I would have understood that the audience that I'm speaking to didn't just see the workout that happened. But if Randy was changing his clothes in the corner and I'm telling the camera I can whip every man, I'm most definitely implying something. And it would be weird. I don't believe that I would have been able, from an entertainer standpoint, to wear that entertainment cap if Randy was right there. Just for example. And Ian Garry, I've never fully understood why he left Sanford MMA. Is that what they call themselves now? They got a new name every week. The Black Zillions, like Killcliff. Today they're the Killcliff. I never understood why he left. And perhaps there isn't a reason. I'm just imagining at 24 years old, completely undefeated, you're the one controlling the headlines, but in this room, you're number 5 just within the weight class. There's 5 guys in this practice room in your weight class that can beat you and do on a daily basis. But the promoters want to see you for some reason. Your placement on the card is higher than our placement on the card. The amount of headlines that you garner, your social media and your followers, and the people that believe you are the man, when the 4 of us know you're not. And just by example, is that why Ian left? And then when Ian does leave, what is the big plan there? The big plan is, okay, I'm really good, and I know I'm really good, and I've beaten everybody, and the promotion likes me, and I'm making all sorts of money, but I happen to know 4 guys, so let me just stay away from those guys. Those were my friends and my teammates, so a way of not fighting them is I'm going to make sure that the media knows those are my friends and my teammates. Because nobody really wants to see 2 friends fight each other, particularly when there's nothing on the line. None of which did Ian Garry do. He didn't do any of that. He didn't avoid any fights. And to think that Ian Garry's O is going to be put on the line in a non-main event, that's hard to believe. That's hard to imagine that would happen. That he would get matched up in a way that the odds makers say is not going to be favorable to him. And it's not going to be in a main event. I don't think you would have predicted that. And if Ian Garry's O is going to be on the line in a match that the odds makers say is not favorable to him, oh, and by the way, there's a room full of, let's call it 30 people at a place called Killcliff that know what the outcome or the projected outcome is going to be. Ian's probably not going to do that if there's not a belt on the line. But there's not a belt on the line. There's no belt. There's no main event. There's not even a guarantee that this takes him into a title shot. We have said that as a community. I think we're very wise for saying that as a community. I think we have a very good reason. I think that in this sport, whatever you have is on the line at all times. So Rakhmonov had a number one contendership. He had a bout agreement opposite Leon. I believe that is on the line. I know that you believe that as well, but it hasn't actually been stated. And now we got 3 strikes, right? Like anything in life, it's the baseball rules. 3 strikes, get yourself out. Get out. If you ever find 3 reasons to not do something, get out. Ian's in. Okay, so now Ian's going against a guy who is his teammate, who was older than him, who in theory would be the mentor. That's just how gyms work. Like the guy that's older and can push a guy around just by gym math is higher up. And by those 30 people who have, for the most part, kept their mouths quiet, but did see that exchange on a daily basis for a meaningful amount of time. And Ian, not only, not for a title and not in a main event, agreed to do it, and he let them add 70% to the clock. I mean, if I was to tell you that you were going to do something that you knew was not going to go your way, and I told you you're going to have to do it in front of the world for a second. Okay, great. But what about the same scenario? If I told you you're going to do something in front of the world that you know is not likely to go your way, and I tell you you're going to go do it for a minute, do you see where it's different? And it's one of these stories that isn't greatly going to be told. There is a code that what happened in the gym stays in the gym, and you see guys that will flirt with that. You see guys that will come up to the line and they'll try to tell their story. They'll really want their story out there, but they won't quite break that deal. They'll want you to know. They'll speak in circles so that you get the message, but they won't quite come out and say it. There's just something about that policy. And it doesn't matter what side you're on. Doesn't matter if you were a viewer at the gym that day. You go speak on what you saw. It doesn't matter if you're a coach or a trainer or a fellow workout partner or the person himself. There's something about that nobody has quite set fire to that code. And they're not going to in this case either. But the fact that they're not going to is what buries one of the great storylines of 2024. And I just think that it's a very difficult match to get together. I think that anybody else would have sat and negotiated. They would have sat and made demands. I mean, we right now can't get our heavyweight champion to fight our interim heavyweight champion. Right now. This is happening right now. But we got 2 undefeated guys that used to train together that know the likely outcome, who haven't said a word about those workouts, have agreed to do it for 70% more time and didn't need any carrot dangled in front of them. That's the storyline. The problem is there's no one out there to tell it.